Heiji wants to get married, but the person he's going to marry isn't me. The night before we broke up, he went at me like a madman, exhausting every trick and technique we'd honed over our 10 years together. I knew his rhythm so well that I could even predict what position he'd want next down to the second. Good. He bit the back of my neck, his voice sharp and fierce. The wilder, the better. Just like before, when he finally felt fully satisfied, I lazily raised my eyes and said in a hoarse voice, "What? Did you finish next month's portion ahead of time?" I've never seen him behave so wildly and unrestrained in the past 10 years. Heiji wrapped his arms around me, his fingers idly circling my waist. "Iran," he said. "You did say you only coveted my body, didn't you? So, if you and I part ways like this, it shouldn't really count as abandoning you after having started something, right?" His remark was flippant, and hearing it made my heart suddenly tremble. 10 years ago, I was cornered by a gangster in an alley. It was he who showed up and came to my rescue. So innocent. Yet you've been staring at my ABS for ages. I'll never forget the look in his eyes when he asked me that. The very next day, he pinned me against the KTV bathroom wall, gasping for breath as he said, "Be good, just keep looking at me." Later, HED always asked me afterward why I'd stayed with him. He'd say, "I'm just craving your body." He laughed smugly and said, "He'll keep you craving me for the rest of your life." Maybe I've just been sleeping too much. I can't even tell anymore whether I'm craving him as a person or just his body. I took hold of his restless hand, controlling myself and doing my best not to lose my composure. I smiled with irresistible charm. "Don't worry, your skills are good, but you're still far from making me obsess over you." Heiji clasped my fingers and lowered his gaze to stare at me. "And that's how it'll be, Byran. You're not young anymore. I can't afford to be indulgent any longer. It's time to get serious. Let's call it quits here." After Heiji finished speaking, I was stunned into silence. For 10 years, I've always thought we were dating, always believed we were a couple. When the time was right, we'd naturally get married and be together. But just now, he said it was time for him to get his act together and that we should stop here. Turned out, I was merely the bedmate who indulged his youthful escapades. I turned around, my eyes filled with a mist of tears. I blinked hard to clear the haze, pretending to be relaxed. I smiled faintly and stood up, ready to leave. Heiji, however, wrapped his arms around my waist and pulled me back into his embrace. As he had done before, he carried me into the bathroom. He moved gently and scrubbed carefully. "There's a girl arranged for us at home. She'd be a good match for marriage." So that's how it is. Hes changed his heart and has another girl on his mind. I closed my eyes and held back the tears welling up inside. At 20-8, I didn't want him to see my vulnerable side. Nor did I want him to look down on me thinking that I couldn't live without him. At 20-8, Byran should have already learned how to carry herself with dignity. When I opened my eyes again, the haze in them had already cleared. I smiled and asked him, "Does she have as much wildness as I do? Isn't he the type who loves to roam? All those young girls are so fresh and inexperienced, just like I was back then." He shook his head, his tone flat. "She's different from you. She's pure and innocent. Unlike you, utterly dissolute." I dug my nails into the palm of my hand and laughed out loud. "Heiji, you're really funny. You're the one who turned me into this myself, yet now you say I'm dirty." It was he who pushed me to shed my naivety. It was he who kept repeating in my ear, "You're too pure." Yet I love being a wanderer. But it's okay, I'll teach you bit by bit. For 10 years. From the dorm room to the office, from the kitchen to the car. He loves my innocent exterior and my wild inner self. But now, HES, using the words clean and pure to nail me to the pillar of shame. A bitter taste rose in my mouth, and a sharp pang of pain gripped my heart. I averted my gaze from his, staring instead at the traces of ambiguity all over my body. "What is it? She's so clean, so pure, unlike you. You're utterly dissolute. What is it that I can no longer indulge in? Aren't these all things he likes?" According to his preferences, he transformed me from a green, an experienced girl into the kind of wild woman who would always be ready to indulge him whenever and however he desired. Then he said he likes things that are clean and pure. I want to ask him, aren't these all things you've been wanting? I want to ask him over these past 10 years, what exactly has he thought of me? I want to ask him, does he really not feel my love at all? But I'm afraid, really afraid. I'm afraid of hearing from him an answer I don't want to receive. After 10 years of relationship, it seems that only I've been serious about it. We remained silent, saying nothing. After he finished cleaning me and drying my body, he picked me up again and carried me back to the bedroom. His eyes flickered, as if he'd suddenly become interested again. Byron, this is the last time. As he pressed down, I turned my head away, and tears finally rolled down my cheeks. The next day, when I woke up, there was no one left by my side. There's an unread text message on my phone sent by Paige. The keys are on the coffee table. Goodbye. I stared at that text message for a long time, until the screen went dark. I got up and walked barefoot into the living room. On the coffee table, the 10-year-old copper key lay there all alone, like an abandoned old dream. I picked up the key, and my fingertips felt icy cold. The phone vibrated again. It was my best friend, Linwan, calling. Byron, did you hear? Paige is getting married. The bride is that new intern, Soo-Kyun. I held the phone in my hand, saying nothing. Hello? Are you okay? Linwan's voice was laced with concern. I'm fine. My voice was calm. So calm that even I felt unfamiliar with it. Linwan, do me a favor. What kind of help? Help me make an appointment with Chen Yan. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Chen Yan? Paige? The one's mortal enemy. Byron, are you crazy? I'm not crazy, I said, staring out the window at the gray, gloomy sky. I'm going to show him what he threw away with his own hands. Others will pick up and even have more fun with than he ever did. Chen Yan quickly returned the call. His voice was deep and magnetic, tinged with a hint of amusement, Miss Bai. Now that's a surprise. When did you suddenly decide to reach out to me? Chen Yan, I'd like to collaborate with you, I said. Cooperation? He echoed softly. He just dumped you and now you're coming to me, Miss Bai. Don't you think that's pretty ironic? Irony? I sneered. Chen Yan, you hate Paige, and so do I. We've got a common enemy, haven't we? There was silence on the other end of the phone. After a long pause, he finally said, how would you like to collaborate? I want you to help me make him regret it. Regret? Chen Yan's voice carried a hint of inquiry. Byron, do you even know what you're saying? Once you're aboard my ship, there's no turning back. I don't need a way back, he said, closing my eyes. In my mind's eye, I saw Paige's words from last night. I don't need to be clean, I don't need to be pure. All I want is for him to realize that his called rebelliousness to the core was something he himself created, something he'll never get back, no matter what he does. Okay, Chen Yan agreed. 7 o'clock tonight. At the D-How Hotel, he'll be waiting for you. Hanging up the phone, I walked into the bathroom and looked at myself in the mirror. Pale, haggard, with bloodshot eyes, I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water vigorously onto my cheeks. The woman in the mirror slowly raised her head. Her gaze shifted from confusion to determination, finally melting into a cold and resolute resolve. I picked up the comb and began to gently brush my long hair, stroke by stroke. Tonight is the day Byron is reborn. I'm going to show Paige just how captivating and how deadly his vaunted infatuation to the bone really is. I slipped into a deep reed backless maxi dress with a thigh-high slit. With every step I took, my slender, bare legs were subtly revealed. I applied the boldest lipstick to my lips and sprayed on that intense perfume, the one he hated most. Before leaving, I took one last look at the key. Then, I turned around and closed the door. D-How Hotel, Presidential Suite. Chen Yan sat on the sofa, gently swirling a glass of red wine in his hand. He wore a black shirt with the collar slightly open, revealing his alluring collarbones. When he saw me, he raised an eyebrow, and a hint of astonishment flashed in his eyes. You're even more beautiful than I imagined, he said. I walked up to him, took the wine glass from his hand, and downed it in one gulp. Chen Yan, remember our agreement. I placed the empty wine glass on the table. I'm going to make him see with his own eyes what Hes lost. Chen Yan stood up and walked over to me. He was very tall, and I had to tilt my head back just to see his face clearly. Byran, are you sure? His voice was low and carried a hint of danger. Once you start, there's really no turning back. I reached out, wrapped my arms around his neck, and stood on tiptoe, whispering softly into his ear, Chen Yan, don't tell me you're scared. He let out a low chuckle, clasped his hands around my waist, and pressed me firmly against him. Scared? I've never even known how to write the word scared. His kiss came crashing down, carrying an air of aggression and retribution. I closed my eyes and endured his kiss, yet my heart remained icy cold. Just then, the doorbell rang. Chen Yan let me go, his eyes filled with a hint of confusion. I straightened my clothes and walked to the door. Through the peephole I saw Pei Ji. He stood outside the door, his face ashen and his eyes bloodshot, still clutching that key in his hand. I opened the door, leaned against the doorframe, and looked at him with a half-minded smile. Hey Xiao, is there something wrong? He looked at me, then glanced at Chen Yan in the room, his voice trembling. Byran. You. What are you doing? What am I doing, can't you see? I chuckled softly. I'm on a date. You know. Dating. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. Are you crazy? You just broke up with me, and now you're What's wrong with him? I pulled my hand back. My gaze icy. Pei Ji wore through. It doesn't seem like it's any of your business who I date, does it? Not my business. He seemed to have heard some joke, his voice suddenly rising sharply. Iran, don't forget you're mine. Who are you to me? I interrupted him. My ex-boyfriend? Or the man who trained me into this state and then found me too dirty? PJI's face turned deathly pale in an instant. Byran, please don't do this. His voice softened, tinged with a hint of pleading. I know what I said last night hurt you, but, you what? I sneered. But now you're regretting it. Peiji, what do you think I am? Some pet you can summon at will and discard whenever you please. No. Byran. Just listen to me. There's nothing to explain, I said, turning around and linking my arm through Chen Yan's. Chen Yan, let's go. Chen Yan glanced at Peiji, a mocking smile curling at the corner of her lips. Then she wrapped her arm around my waist and led me toward the elevator. Peiji caught up and stepped in front of the elevator. Byran, you can't leave. Get out of the way. Hanyan said to him coldly. This is between me and Byran, stay out of it. Peiji shouted. She's my woman, what business is it of yours? Chen Yan shot back sarcastically. Your woman. Peiji seemed to have been stabbed in the heart. He looked at me, his eyes filled with pain and anger. Byran, tell me, are you trying to get back at me? Is that it? I looked at him, and my heart was completely undisturbed. Peiji, you're wrong. I'm not taking revenge on you. I'm saving myself. Save yourself? Yes. I straightened my back and looked at him. I spent 10 years shaping myself into the person you wanted me to be. Now, it's time for me to find myself again. And you, KG, you'll lose me forever. The elevator door opened. Chen Yan put his arm around me as we stepped into the elevator. Heiji still tried to barge in, but Chen Yan kicked him right out. The elevator doors slowly closed, sealing out Peiji's pale, contorted face. I leaned against Chen Yan's chest, closed my eyes, and let out a long sigh. You did a good job, Chen Yan's voice rang out above her head. Thanks, I said, opening my eyes and staring at my blurred reflection in the elevator. But this isn't an act, Chen Yan. Everything I've said, it's all real. Chen Yan was silent for a moment, then said, Byran, do you know, you're even more ruthless than I thought.